Hi, Laura. Hopefully you recognize me with my hair down. I don't think I've actually ever had my hair down before. And yeah, so fun hair fact. I actually have curly hair, but it's so massively long that it gets like wavy when I wash it. And I was going to record this video later on when I had my hair nice and extra purple. This is pretty washed out, but I just finished, and spoilers for the channel, we record these in advance, so they're not in like real time. So the actual, I'm dying. I choked on my spit. I got so excited. The actual day today is November 7th, which is a pivotal moment for me because I've been doing NaNoWriMo for about 12 years now, and I have officially finished 50,000 words. Yay! In 7 days. So that is a pretty big feat. My goal for this month actually is to write 150,000 words. So I'm still very much in it, but I told myself that I would do 150 words in the month only if I could get 50,000 in the first week. That kind of reduces my word count for the rest of the month. Just because I had been doing I took Monday off. This is like more backstory than anyone needs to know. Basically, my word count during the week was 5K, and then I wrote 10K on the weekends. I took off Monday, so that's how I got the extra time. Which 5K doing full-time work is a little bit hard. It really depends on if I wake up on time. I don't set an alarm. I wake up naturally at like 4 or 5 o'clock because I'm insane. So if I didn't wake up at like 4:30, it was harder to get 2,500 words in the morning before I usually start work about 7. And then it was really hard to I had a bad day on Wednesday. It was very taxing and demanding, and it was hard to write after that full-time job. So but anyways, it can be done, and it's always good to front load challenges. If you need a bonus tip about your life, if you're doing a challenge, it's always better to take the enthusiasm and get ahead when you can, as opposed to just like getting behind, because getting behind is like the worst thing you can. Like my first nano, I think I wrote like 15,000 words the last weekend because I was really determined to get it. And it was not fun because I used all of the cheat tricks. There's like a forum, like I don't go on the forums anymore. It's basically just a big time waste, but everyone's like, you should take the contractions and split them up. So every cannot then becomes a can and a not. And then you have 2 words for 1 word. And I legitimately actually did that. I think people were actually joking about it, but I did it. So that's one of my sneaky tricks on how I won the first NaNoWriMo that I ever did, and that is going to be my rant topic for today. But I did want to slightly address some things that you said. I wanted to call you out for saying that you weren't being man, if my words are not here today, it's because I wrote down 9,000 words and I've written 50,000 words, and my brain is a little bit weird during Nano, so my words are just like not there. But you said something about how you weren't trying to be argumentative. Oh my gosh. Words about just like you got really passionate, and that felt like you were arguing with me, so I'm gonna call it out because I can, just about how you can't have contemporary, you can't have like real world things like forgiveness and stuff in the real world, which I just meant that it's easier to like take people out of their reality and make them more empathetic when they're not thinking that's the real world. And then I sort of guiltily had like a thought. So one of the differences between me and Laura is that Laura sees things more optimistically. I wouldn't say I'm a pessimist. I wouldn't even say I'm a realist, honestly. This thing is in the way. I don't know what I would call myself, but it's like there's the thing where everyone's like, oh, is the glass, half empty or half full, or is it just, it depends on like, if you're pouring water in, then it's half full. If you're drinking it, then it's like half empty. But then there's this funny thing, if you're a writer, that you would say the glass is poisoned, the water is poisoned. And I've always really liked that, but I wouldn't say I'm I'll tell you why I felt guilty. I felt slightly guilty about your last line, and I was honestly making a face as I was watching it before recording this about how there can be hope in the world and I was like, it's the INFJ personality where it's like it depends on my mood. Some days I really love people and other times I really hate people. So it kind of like is this balance between I really like the world and want to save it, and at the same time I really hate it and want to watch it burn. So it's like my personality is super contradictory about what I think depending on my mood, and then it's like depending on like who's around me, like I absorb their emotions and like empathetic and stuff. So it's like a mess. It's a mess. Which I will tell you something else that I wasn't really going to tell you yet, but here's another secret. So my Samurai Lord story, my jaded Samurai Lord guy is actually going to have the same personality as Kilo, and wait for it, he's going to be the opposite. So as I was just describing with like the split person, it's not really a split personality, but it's like you either love people or you hate people, and Kilo's like, I love people, and he's been like in a good place that people have like pushed him toward that way. But my Samurai Lord guy, he is going to be on the opposite spectrum, so he's gonna have tendencies, the INFJ tendencies, but then he's gonna hate the world. Which I'm really excited about. I did actually tell one other person just because we were talking about like redemption stories and just like how, I was saying Death Note. This is a spoiler if you haven't seen Death Note, it's been out forever. How Death Note, I really think it would have been awesome if they would have ended the series after Light had won. Because that would have been awesome, having the bad guy win. And honestly, like, I don't particularly think he was super bad. This was also like a discussion point. I was gonna say an argument, but it's a discussion point in our, if you like anime and manga, here's a plug for our group, the Otaku Creators Community. This was a topic between Light versus L and Death Note, the series, and I was only one of two people who actually liked Light better. And I think my comment was something to the tune of, Light wasn't really that bad of a person, and he actually had a good way of solving and getting rid of the evil in the world. He just might have crossed the line a little bit. It's more than a little bit, but he crossed the line a little bit, and he got a bit of a god complex, and then it just went downhill from there, and it was super fun to actually watch that descent. So, spoilers, what I'm going to try for, and I say try because sometimes characters have a mind of their own, and I've intended to do stuff. I'm really hoping you can't hear my dog chewing on their bone, but if you're hearing like a grinding, that's what it is. She just looked up at me. So yeah, I'm really hoping that he's going to be in a different mindset than Kilo is, and he's going to be slightly jaded with the world. And I was like, I'm kind of slightly afraid at how this is going to illuminate how I myself sometimes feel, because I really think I would like to live on a mountain and just kind of like watch the world burn around me, and I'd be okay with that. So does that make me a bad person? I don't know. But that is a mood sometimes. So that's my Death Note rant, which was not relevant to anything I was going to talk about, but it sort of came from your conversation. So sorry, that was tangent number 1. We should have like a tangent counter at the bottom and see, we should see how many tangents I have, because I'm really good. I feel like our videos are just like one part, like here's Noelle wrote down hope for the real world with contemporary. That was my only topic point that I'd written down. And then the other points is just like to see how upset we can get each other or get ourselves about, like, worked up about like whatever show or anime that we're into, which is kind of cool. I like that. So refocus. I actually did have one other thing. You mentioned Stephen King. I don't like Stephen King. So if you like Stephen King, don't like, what is it, like cancel me? Don't cancel me, because I have a different opinion about Stephen King. But I don't like this book. A lot of people really like this book. Like, a lot of writers are like, wow, it's the most amazing book on writing craft ever. And I read this and I was very disappointed, because this book is super condescending. And it's like, you gotta be like careful about like the writing advice you absorb from all these people who are like, quote unquote, good writers, or they're the top writers, because their advice is never like sometimes good. I don't I don't write in my books. This is not me, but this is a used copy. So you can see this person, whoever really liked this part here, apparently thought this was a good thing. Like, I get the advice, but like the way he phrases it. Let me read it to you, and so you can decide yourself. Blah, 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 blah. Oh man, this is a really long paragraph. Okay. You might also notice how much simpler the thought is to understand when it's broken up into two thoughts. This makes matters easier for the reader, and the readers must always be your main concern. Without constant reader, you are just a voice quaking in the void. That's okay. But if you skip down toward the bottom, and then he says, and remember, the rider threw the rope, not the rider was thrown. The rider was thrown. Let me do this again. I'm not. Okay, calm down. And remember, the rider threw the rope, not the rope was thrown by the rider. Please, oh please. It's the addition of the please, oh please, where he's like adamantly against like adverbs and stuff, and he really states his very strong opinion on how to write and his style. Which you can go into reading this book and like glean stuff, which basically was that whole thing was saying don't use passive voice. Instead of, I guess maybe some people like writing a slightly quippy / snarky stuff, but I wasn't a fan of that book. If you want that book, let me know. It's been sitting in this drawer for like ages, and I feel like I need to go give away a bunch of books that I don't like because I only buy paperback copies. Here's another rant. Ooh, here's the topic. Here's the topic for the next video already. Paperbacks versus ebooks, because I only will read books if they're paperbacks, so I buy a lot of used copies to save money. I'm economically responsible, financially responsible. That sounds better. I'm financially responsible, so like, especially like a lot of my nonfiction samurai books, you can get them all for like $4 from thrift books. Not sponsored, should be sponsored, would love to be sponsored by thrift books. If you want to sponsor the channel, would love to get some used copies. But basically, I can get like nonfiction samurai books that would cost me like $50 or $20, and I can get them for $4. So yes, sometimes they have really annoying highlighting in there, and I don't agree with the highlighting, which then I guess is kind of funny that I was like, I don't remember this book at all, so I was just like scrolling through. I was flipping through, and I was trying to find, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was trying to find something that he had underlined. Here's something else. I had 4 problems with what I'd written. First and least important was the fact that the story didn't move me emotionally. That's actually a good point. Second and slightly more important was the fact that I didn't much like the lead character. You can write from a place of hatred. But basically what I learned from this book is Stephen King's not like a super great person. That's what my takeaway, and he was condescending in his tone, so I would not personally recommend that to readers. I like to like new writers. I like to be a little bit more kind. There was actually an instance, man, I'm tangenting all over the place. But there was actually an author that I encountered in like one of those big like fantasy groups or whatever, and he said something to like a new writer who was using something like Pro Writing Aid, which is basically like Grammarly, to help improve their writing. And then he left a comment saying, if you need to use that program, then you're not a writer. And I got really super upset about that, to the point that I will admit it. Okay, I'll admit it. I have not read his 3rd book in the series because I'm still kind of peeved. One part is I'm peeved at the author. Now that you kind of get to know authors on social media, like I actually will read books if I know the author, because I just like, I have more of a personal connection. It makes the story a little bit more special to me. So yeah, I don't know where that was going. So my actual topic of the day, I'm already 14 minutes in. Like, you cannot contain this. This is why I'm a pantser. I just write. I just go off. My brain just like goes. So I'll try to keep this brief. No promises. We've seen my history with this channel already. But my topic is, I wanted to talk about 2 different things. Which one is pulling more on my heart? I guess they kind of relate. So the bad writing advice is one of the things that I fell into the trap of when I was first starting to write, again, with like the first NaNoWriMo, when I was trying to write a book, when I took like 7 years to write a book because I didn't know what I was doing. And it's like, it's overwhelming because there's so many opinions and there's so many people trying to tell you what to do, and everyone's reading stupid books like that because they're just nervous and they're afraid and they're scared that their writing is going to be bad, that they're going to spend maybe 3 years of their life writing a book and then have to delete it and rewrite it and start over. I think I already shared that I deleted my first like 350,000 words and then started over, and then I rewrote my book again. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you just have to do it, and the more you do it, you get better at it. And it's like you can only listen to so much like noise and chatter and everything. Like I got sucked into like all these like marketing things too. I was like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was like, oh, I just can't it's hard to like absorb all that information. And for a time I was like going to all these marketing things and I was going to all the writing things. And then at some point I just was like, I just gotta stop. I was like, I just can't keep doing this. I need to cut my bangs. I just can't keep doing this. At some point, you just have to trust yourself and you just have to write, because you can't like keep getting jerked around by like this person saying that person, this person saying this thing, and that person doing this. It's like you can't function. And then if you keep listening to like, this person, or even if you end up getting an editor that has a different style and is like, you have to write like this, like, my frustration is apparent. It's just like you learn writing by writing. That is the only way to do it. There's no shortcut. Like you learn how to market by learning, like by doing the thing and by like trying to do the thing and then failing at the thing and then being like, oh, this is the thing that I tried and then this aspect actually works. So it's like all this noise. Like the most important thing, my writing advice, spend some time and just have fun with it. There you go. There's your writing advice. Have fun with it. Explore your style. Try to find your voice. Like, you can even, like, there's one author there's two authors. There's a lot of authors I really like, but one in particular, and I wish I would have actually found her books before I'd written my series, but maybe it's a good thing I didn't. But basically, she's one of the first people, or the only people that I know of, that wrote a Japanese fantasy stories, like historical fantasy, and her writing is so beautiful and I really like it. It's very like lyrical and very like detail heavy, and it's Leanne Hearn. She has written the Tales of the Atori series, and she has then a sequel after that and a couple of other books. I haven't read all of them because she just retired this year and I'm sad, so now I have to savor them which is something I do. But I love her writing, and I really like Robin Hobb. She was like probably the author who influenced me most. Hey, side topic, the author that influenced you the most. Paperbacks or ebooks, if that's not long enough, you want to do like influential authors, there you go. And I've just tangented on another topic. But her writing style was all about like first person, and this was like 10-20 years ago when it wasn't very normal to have first person in a story. It's more like a young adult thing now, but it's more acceptable to write in first person. And Robin Hobb's whole thing was like, it's more natural to tell a story saying I as the character, and I was like, yes, that's totally like what I believe. So, was gonna tangent. I'm staying straight on this topic. But yeah, so that was one of the things that I learned about writing my first book, and it's something that this is the only writing advice you need, is just to spend the time and write. Like, read things that you like, and then maybe like contemplate, be like, why do I like this style? Oh, because it's descriptive and it puts me in the scene and everything. And it's not all like condescendingly telling you can't write like this because blah 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 blah. It's just like, write and see what happens. And if you like it, if you're pulled towards something, maybe keep writing that, as opposed to you have to write this and that because they're the most popular things. So yeah, it's all about just kind of finding your voice and learning how to write. Honestly, I feel like you're gonna get mad at me for saying this. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make a point. I only now feel like I have really learned how to write a story. Even though I'm really proud of Shadow's hand, I am, please don't yell at me. I'm really proud of Shadow's hand, but every time I look at it, like I know the writing is stilted, like it's choppy, it's not as descriptive. There's like a stupid chapter in there, and I think it's the one chapter titled Zenkaiko, which is like one of my favorite chapters in the entire book because it's so descriptive. And I remember being super frustrated because my editor's like, you should make the whole book like this, and I was like what? Like I didn't understand what she was talking about, and then I was frustrated because I couldn't figure out how to get like the magic of that chapter into the other things, and I finally figured it out now. Like I'm working on my third book, and I feel like my second book has hit it. But there's like a difference, like a 3-year difference between book 1 and book 2, where I have grown as a writer. I gave myself the time to get feedback. I had beta readers. I also had a developmental editor for book 2, and I took that time and I spent it learning how to write better. And I was frustrated because there were certain moments in book 2 that you have to lead up to them. You can't just have this one scene. Like you have to put a lot of things into play. And that's when I feel like I got it. And it's also one of the reasons why my book is longer, is because I got more descriptive. Like I learned how to put the reader in the moment, and I really like that because that makes me super happy writing that way. And I finally figured out how to do it naturally, as opposed to, you know, when you're first starting to write, everyone's like, write descriptively, here are the senses, blah blah blah, put something about sight and blah 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 blah, and that just happens naturally now. So it's mostly about just spending time, and it's not I don't even know where I was going with this, other than I just wanted to share my best writing advice, which was not the topic. I just wanted to celebrate that my writing has changed from 12 years of doing NaNoWriMo, and now I'm excited that I wrote 50,000 words, and they're actually good words, as opposed to the first time when I wrote it, when I threw out all the words, and then I threw it out again the next year, and I did it again the next year. And then I was like, maybe I actually have a plot and a story and some characters in here, and I'm going to sit down and actually think how to write this book. So, yes, just have fun with it. That's my advice to everyone. To you, Laura, just have fun with it. Like, I know it's a struggle to, like, what if it doesn't work out? I'm not saying that directly to you, but it's like everyone in their head is like, what if it doesn't work out, you know? Like, I don't know, stop worrying about it and spend the time to, like, have fun with it. It's like any other thing. It's like learning how to draw. It's like learning how to paint. It just doesn't happen overnight. It just takes time, and the only way to really, like, improve is to spend the time on the thing you want to get better at. In this case, it's writing, and then just learn how to, you know, how to draw the reader in, how to, like, make your message come across. If there is a message, there doesn't always have to be a message. Sometimes a chair is just a chair, people. We don't need to analyze the color of the purple curtains. They're just purple. Maybe they just like purple. So yeah, that was very rambly. May or may not regret doing this after the end of NaNoWriMo, because my brain is just like choo choo. So hopefully it's amusing. I feel like I could go on for a while, but for the sake of time, for your sanity, I'm going to stop there, and hopefully you took notes. I'm laughing about you taking notes. Hopefully you took notes about next week's video. Feel free, like, I don't care if you want to go off, and I hope that you are enjoying writing, and you just enjoy the process and have fun and learn how to write. And yeah, that is all I have to say this week. Keep calm and write on. Sounds smart. Bye.